Hi and welcome to JohnRayner.tv. In this episode, we'll look at part 2 of how to prepare world-class public speeches and presentations. How to prepare for your next public speeches and presentations in a world-class fashion, and everything that we talk about in this video and this series of videos will be based on my new book, Confident, Powerful and Persuasive Public Speaking, which you can download at JohnRayner.tv. In the last video, we looked at just an introduction. I gave an introduction to this topic. In this particular video, as part of a series, let's just look at the first thing, the very first thing that we must consider and that we must do when preparing for all public speeches and presentations, whether it be business or whether it be otherwise. And the very first thing we must do is always consider the audience, or the bullseye, or the X that marks the spot. In other words, my company for many years have trained thousands of people in this particular art, but we've also consulted on and we've helped organizations, whether they be Fortune 500 companies, medium-sized companies, or owners of smaller sized companies. We've helped them with pitches and tenders and presentations, and leaders and influencers with public speeches in conferences, etc. And what's fascinating to me is that when many people are given the responsibility to communicate a message, it's fascinating how when the pressure of public speaking and presentation is put on the brain, the majority of people I've met, not all, but the majority, typically start to think about what they're going to say, what's important to them as the speaker, what they want to get across, etc., etc. But to be far more confident, to be far more engaging, to be far more powerful and persuasive, we have to step into the shoes. We have to wear the shoes of the audience member, or members plural. And therefore everything that we think, everything that we say, and everything that we do must be based on the audience. Now, in the book, Confident, Powerful and Persuasive Public Speaking, there's a chapter on knowing your audience, and I outline at least 30 different questions that you can consider, or even better, ask the audience to get an understanding of what's important to them regarding your topic, regarding your message, regarding your speech or your presentation. In this video, we don't have time for that, but there are a couple of thoughts I'd like to get across. Firstly, always consider the macro perspective of the audience. That might be their ages, their culture, especially if you're speaking internationally, their incomes, their political affiliations, hobbies, recreations, and what do they read or what do they watch. That's just a few macro considerations regarding the audience. But then, to be more specific, you can ask more micro questions, and getting into the headspace, so to speak, of your audience. You might want to ask, who are the people of influence? Who are the people of influence in the audience? And then the next thought is, what keeps your audience awake at night? What keeps them awake at night? You know, what are the 1, 2 or 3 concerns or fears that they have in relation to your topic, which hopefully you provide a solution for. You might want to ask in a micro fashion what trends are happening in their industry or in their business right now, or with them personally, to help them on their journey towards the decision that they might or might not have to make. And then what outcomes of your message will best justify the cost or the investment in doing business with you, especially if you're pitching or you're presenting a proposal in order to win new business with prospects or existing clients. So there's just some micro questions supported by some macro questions. Again, in the book, Confident, Powerful and Persuasive Public Speaking, there are many more questions to consider. And of course, in an ideal world, before we even put pen to paper or start typing our speech or our presentation, in an ideal world, we'd take at least 3 or 4 or 5 key questions which we need to understand the answers for to better understand the audience. And in an ideal world, we'd actually reach out before planning and before the speech or before the presentation, and ask the questions of the audience. And maybe if it's not with them direct, it could be a personal assistant, it could be research on the company or research on the audience members individually. There are multiple resources on the internet to allow you to do that. It could be with clients, it could be with providers of your audience. So there are ways to actually ask questions prior to even planning or speaking or presenting. But then, because real world exists, if you find that you haven't had the opportunity to ask questions and gain feedback from the audience or from the bullseye, from the target, well then why not just ask live during your public speech? Look, I've said in other videos, I've had the pleasure of talking within more than 15 countries to a collective audience of more than 80,000 people. And obviously, especially when you've got 1,000 people in the room or more, it's not always possible to ask multiple people prior to the event what's important to them, what are their concerns, what they would like to get out of your message. But why not start? Why not build some rapport? Why not gain engagement? Why not be interactive before you even get on a roll with your words and your message? Why not start by asking the audience live? You might have one person sitting across a table from you over a coffee, or you can have 1,000 people in a conference center and just have 3, 4, or 5 key questions written out or in your mind, and start after maybe some introduction. Just start by asking questions and gaining some interaction, and start to better understand your audience. I hope this helps, and make sure you download the book Confident, Powerful and Persuasive Public Speaking at johnrainer.tv, which will actually support this series of videos on how to prepare world-class public speeches and presentations. See you on the next episode. Ciao.